India is a country whose culture is ancient and dynamic, spanning back to the beginning of human civilization. The history of India is one punctuated by constant integration with migrating peoples and with the diverse populations that surround India. Placed in the center of Asia, India is a crossroads of cultures, from China to Africa and Europe. In the 15th century, India was visited by a large number of European travelers, Italians, Englishmen, Frenchmen, and Dutchmen. They were drawn to India for different reasons. Some were traders, others adventurers, and quite a few fired by the missionary zeal to find converts to Christianity. Eventually, England, France, the Netherlands, and Denmark floated East India companies. During the late 16th and the 17th centuries, these companies competed with each other fiercely. By the last quarter of the 18th century, the English had vanquished all others and established themselves as the dominant power in India. The British controlled India for a period of about 2 centuries and brought about revolutionary changes in the social, political, educational, and economic life of the country. Once the British had consolidated their power, commercial exploitation of the natural resources and native labor became ruthless. By the middle of the 19th century, arrogant exploitation of the people had tried the patience of the Indians to their limits. The 6 decades between the end of the mutinous war of 1857 to 59 and the conclusion of the First World War saw both the peak of British imperial power in India and the birth of nationalist agitation against it. With increasing intrusion of aliens in their lives, a group of middle-class Indians formed the Indian National Congress in 1885, a society of English-educated affluent professionals to seek reforms from the British. The anti-colonial struggle became truly a mass movement with the arrival of Mohandas Gandhi in 1915, who had suffered great humiliation in South Africa due to the policy of racial discrimination, and later committed his life to rid his motherland of the ills of foreign rule through peace. Successive campaigns had the effect of driving the British out of India in 1947.
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम.
In ancient times, India had a guru system of education in which anyone who wished to study went to a teacher's home and requested to be taught. If accepted as a student by the guru, he would then stay at the guru's home and help in all activities at home. This not only created a strong tie between teacher and student, but also taught the student everything about running a house. The guru taught everything the child wanted to learn, from Sanskrit to the Holy Scriptures and from mathematics to metaphysics. The student stayed as long as he or she wished, or until the guru felt that he had taught everything he could teach. All learning was very closely linked to nature and to life, and not confined to memorization of facts. During the British rule, the curriculum was confined to modern subjects, such as science and mathematics, and subjects like metaphysics and philosophy were considered unnecessary. Teaching was confined to classrooms, and the close relationship between the teacher and the student was no longer emphasized. After India gained independence in the 1940s, complete and compulsory education for all children in the age group of 6 to 14 was a valued dream for the new government of the Republic of India, and it is even a directive policy in Article 45 of their Constitution. However, this objective remains far away even more than half a century later. In the recent past, the government appears to have taken a serious note of this lapse and has emphasized primary education as a fundamental right of every Indian citizen. India is divided into 28 states and 7 so-called union territories. The states have their own elected governments, while the union territories are ruled directly by the government of India, with the President of India appointing an administrator for each union territory. In accordance with the Constitution of India, school education was originally a state subject, much like America. The role of the government of India was limited to coordination in deciding on the standards for higher education. This was changed with the constitutional amendment in 1976 so that school education policies and programs are suggested now at the national level. The school system in India has 4 levels: lower primary, age 6 to 10, upper primary, age 11 and 12, high, age 13 to 15, and higher secondary, age 17 and 18. The lower primary school is divided into 5 standards, upper primary school into 2, high school into 3, and higher secondary into 2. Students have to learn a common curriculum until the end of high school. From there, some amount of specialization and vocational training are possible at the higher secondary levels. There are a handful of schools around the country, such as the Rishu Valley School in Andhra Pradesh, that try to break away from the normal education system that promotes rote learning and implement innovative systems such as the Montessori method. Most such schools are very expensive and have high teacher-student ratios, but they provide a learning environment in which each child can learn at his or her own pace. According to the National Council of Teachers of English, the situation for elementary teacher education is comparable to international standards. However, secondary and vocational teacher training situations need drastic regulation and change. Over the last few decades, the teacher education has been severely criticized for being absolutely obsolete. Teacher education systems are strongly evolving so that the quality of teachers in India is improving. Currently, however, about 1 in 5 primary school teachers do not have the requisite minimum academic qualifications to ensure a child's right to quality learning. Major issues also arise when looking further at teacher compensation. In India, the average salary of a kindergarten teacher is around 100,000 rupees per year, and for postgraduate teachers, 175,000 rupees per year. Do not be too blown away by these seemingly vast sums. The equivalent is a $1,600 American annual salary for elementary educators and about $2,500 American dollars a year for higher level educators. These figures become even lower in rural sections and some private schools. Even though India is an emerging economy, the salaries of teachers there are still 5 to 6 times lower than their counterparts in the United States. With wages this low, it is no surprise that there are only an estimated 500,000 teachers for the estimated 10.6 million students. When comparing American education system to that of the Indian education system, there are some broad similarities, such as the structured curriculum and the syllabus, good facilities and decent infrastructure, the concepts of private, for-profit, and public schools, and a willingness on the part of the children and parents to get their proper education. However, there are some differences between the two systems that can be considered significant. In the U.S. system of education, there are different standards throughout the country, with each state determining curriculum and standardized testing. Conversely, in India, there are 2 standards at the national level, and typically 1 standard at an individual state level. Another significant difference is the emphasis placed on extracurricular activities. In America, parents and school system place a strong emphasis on extracurricular activities and pour vast amounts of funding and resources into giving their children and students the best experiences in athletics, fine arts, and social clubs. While these extracurricular activities are considered important in India, parents place the priority on investing in tutors to accelerate their child's learning. Tutors are used not just for remedial work in India, but to help children excel in subject areas. Notable efforts have been made recently by the National Common Minimum Program of the United Progressive Alliance to better this nation's education. They intend to progressively increase expenditures on education to at least 6% of the GDP. To support this increase in expenditure on education and to increase the quality of education. To also ensure that no one is denied of educational due to economic backwardness and poverty. They also plan on making right to education a fundamental right for all children in the age group of 6 to 14 years, and to universalize education through flagship programs.